Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best day movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me here as we, a bunch of friends, stand around a virtual water cooler talking about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. Hey, for those of you watching live, you notice we started today's show about 30 minutes late. What happened was I went into the Hollywood studio today. You notice I'm shooting it from my home studio today. But the adjoining unit next to our building was doing major construction today, and it was unbelievably loud, so I had to bump today's start time to 9:30 and drive back home as fast as I could so we could do the show from home today. But anyway, that's what we're doing. And yes, for all of you guys asking me, I did not return my PlayStation 4 Pro. I kept it. I've been trying to fumble around and trying to get used to the controllers, and I'm going to do some live streaming so you guys can laugh at me watching me fumble my way through the Spider-Man game. So you guys are going to be able to watch and laugh at me doing that and all that sorts of good stuff. So, there we go. All right, listen, guys, we got a hell of a lot of stuff to talk about here today. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is doing some house cleaning and getting around to our question of the day from yesterday. Now, of course, yesterday, our question of the day revolved around The Lion King, and it was simply this. Is it possible that The Lion King could end up as the #1 box office movie of 2019, even though there's a Star Wars movie coming, even though there's Avengers 4 coming? And guess what? 64% of you said, yeah, it is possible that it could take the #1 spot at the box office movie over a Star Wars movie, over a Toy Story 4, over an Avengers 4. Yes, it could happen. 36% of you guys say, nah, it's not possible. It ain't going to top Avengers 4. But yeah, surprisingly, 64% of you said, yes, it is. 36% of you said, no, it is not possible. And we have, of course, another question of the day coming up a little bit later today. All right, let's get things started with this. We've known that one of the films coming out for Disney in 2019 is based on that book series called Artemis Fowl. Today, the first trailer for Artemis Fowl dropped. Now, I'm going to admit right up front here, I really don't know much about Artemis Fowl. I've never read the books. I've never really known anything about it. I've heard some people talk about Artemis Fowl, but I've never really known much about it whatsoever, all right? But I knew that was coming. I knew Kenneth Branagh was going to be directing it. That will get my attention for sure. But other than that, not much. Today, the first trailer drops, and I gotta say, I'm intrigued. You know, at first, when I started hearing things about it, I thought, oh, this is just kind of Warner Brothers trying to get a new Harry Potter thing going. And fine, I can understand why I felt that way, but, you know, I watched this trailer, didn't feel anything like a Harry Potter film. Nothing at all like it. It felt interesting. I'm not going to say I'm jumping up and down about this movie, but I'm far more interested in this film now than I was before after this first little teaser trailer. That voice was amazing. Now, for those of you who are like me and don't know a lot about Artemis Fowl, here's the basic synopsis of the upcoming film. Disney's Artemis Fowl, based on the beloved book by Ian Colfer, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, is a fantastical spellbinding adventure that follows the journey of 12-year-old genius Artemis Fowl, a descendant of a long line of criminal masterminds, as he seeks to find his father, who has mysteriously disappeared. Pardon me. With the help of his loyal protector, Butler, Artemis sets out to find him, and in doing so uncovers an ancient underground civilization, the amazing advanced world of fairies, deducing that his father's disappearance is somehow connected to the secretive, reclusive fairy world. Cunning Artemis concocts a dangerous plan, so dangerous that he ultimately finds himself in a perilous war of wits with the all-powerful fairies. Dun, dun, dun. So again, hard to get too much out of this Artemis Fowl trailer. It is the first teaser trailer. The movie's not coming out for like 8 or 9 months. So frankly, I'm not even sure why they put a trailer out at this point, other than maybe just to get the public awareness started about the movie. Because I guess, to be fair, a lot of people haven't been talking about it, maybe don't even realize that it's coming. But honestly, I still feel like it was a little bit too early for a trailer, but still, not bad. It got my attention. Kenneth Branagh looks like he's going to work his magic. Let's see how this movie turns out. It's certainly on my radar now. All right, next up, let's talk about this. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine has been an ongoing discussion for a long time. And despite the fact that he has very firmly stated a number of times, I'm done as Wolverine. Wolverine is no longer in my future. Hey, maybe if certain things had turned out a certain way, but they didn't, I'm done. I'm moving on with my career, blah, blah, blah. Despite the fact that he has said that over and over and over again, many fans still like to think that with X-Men now going back and going over to Marvel eventually, sometime in 2019 that'll happen, that they're going to coax Hugh Jackman to come back as Wolverine again. Yay! Despite the fact that Hugh continuously says that's not happening. But we keep talking about it. Well, Hugh Jackman just dropped a big bucket of gasoline on that fire, because they announced, and he put this out on his social media as well, that on the Today Show on Thursday, and the Today Show made a big deal about this the other day, saying Hugh Jackman is going to be on the Today Show on Thursday, and he's going to have a huge announcement, a huge exclusive announcement, they said. And then Hugh Jackman himself got on his Twitter and said, coming Thursday on the Today Show, a huge, massive announcement. Okay. Understandably, a lot of people have jumped to the conclusion that, oh my God, this huge announcement, what else can it be other than the fact that he's coming back as Wolverine again? What else could it possibly be? What else could qualify, and what else would justify saying we got a huge announcement? What else could it be? He must be coming back as Wolverine. And you know what? I'm not going to dog on anybody who's making that assumption, because it's not unreasonable to wonder that, right? It's not unreasonable. It's not super far-fetched. Look, Hugh Jackman, who for all the great things he's done in his career, will always be best known as Wolverine. That's fair to say. Hugh Jackman comes out and says, I got this big, massive, exclusive announcement coming, and blah, blah, blah. And the biggest thing he's ever been is Wolverine. It is not a big stretch for a lot of people to wonder and speculate and even guess that this big announcement is all about him coming back as Wolverine. However, there's a few little cautions we should have, all right? Caution number one, he has said repeatedly he's not doing that. He could have changed his mind, but let's keep in mind that he's repeatedly said he's not doing that, all right? Number two, just because we all love comic book movies so much and it seems to be the center of our world, that doesn't mean it's the center of Hugh Jackman's world. His big announcement could be about 1,000 other things. It could be about 1,000 other things. But the only thing that would be a huge announcement is Wolverine. Well, maybe to you, but to Hugh Jackman, that may not be the case. Right? It could literally be 1,000 other things. So number one, well, the biggest one here is the fact that, it could be 1,000 other things. But number three, okay, the third little caution we have to have here is this. Disney has not yet, the deal is not done. Disney does not have Wolverine, does not have the X-Men properties, does not have the Deadpool properties, does not have Fantastic Four. They don't have any of that yet. So Hugh Jackman can't be coming out and making announcements about a return of Wolverine for the Disney universe when Disney doesn't even have those things yet. And it would violate all sorts of terms of agreement if they went ahead and started making plans and started actually signing contracts when the government has not even approved that deal yet. So, several cautions that we have to keep in mind with this before we get too delirious that Hugh Jackman, huge announcement, he's coming back as Wolverine. Yeah, there's many reasons to believe not. But again, I'm not going to dog on anybody who thinks maybe it is because, it kind of feels like that a little bit right now. Also remember this. It is possible that he could come back as Wolverine in a Fox movie. Fox is still putting out movies, folks. Fox is still continuing business as usual. They keep making their movies. It is theoretically possible that he could say he's come back as Wolverine, and it won't be for a Marvel X-Men universe movie, but a Fox movie. It's possible. So, my guess, he's not announcing he's coming back as Wolverine. That's my guess. I think it is most likely going to be about something else entirely. But I'm also not willing to say it's impossible that he's announcing something with Wolverine. We're just going to have to wait and see. What do you guys think? Do you think he's talking about Wolverine? Do you think he's talking about something else? Jump down to the comment section and let me know your thoughts. All right, with that out of the way, let's jump into our first email today. And by the way, guys, how do you get an email topic or question on the John Campea Show? It's really simple. Just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Email me anytime, and just make sure you put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. And who knows, maybe you'll see one of your emails pop up here on the John Campea Show. All right, here's our first email today. And our first email today comes to us from Alex Pitt, who writes, "Hey, John, I hope you're doing well. I am doing well, Alex. Thanks for asking. So, Once Upon a Deadpool will be released soon, and the trailer was hilarious. It is being marketed as a family-friendly version of Deadpool 2. And so, I was surprised to find out that the film has been given a 15 rating here in the UK, the exact same rating that the original two Deadpool films received. With this in mind, how quote-unquote family-friendly can we actually expect Once Upon a Deadpool to be?" All right, thanks a lot for the email, Alex. And I'm going to tell you what, I heard about this the other day. I was shocked that this PG-13 version of Deadpool, this family-friendly version of Deadpool, is getting its R-rated equivalent in the UK anyway. The exact same rating that the first Deadpool and that the second Deadpool got. It's getting the exact same rating. A couple things come to mind here. Number one, let's remember that PG-13 does not mean clean. All right? PG-13 is not family rated. It's not even PG. It's PG-13. We've seen lots of PG-13 movies that are very violent, very suggestive, have some questionable stuff in it. PG-13 is not a family-friendly rating, right? It's below R in our North American standards, but it's not exactly clean. It doesn't scream, this is a clean movie, safe and family-friendly for everybody. That's not what it means. You can even drop one or two F-bombs in a PG-13 movie, right? Now, if I remember correctly, and I may not be remembering the wording exactly, but the UK Film Rating Board, after releasing the 15, they included 4 extreme violence, which you can have in a PG-13 movie, and suggestive scenes or something, crude humor. That was it, crude humor. Which, of course, it's Deadpool, there's going to be crude humor. But apparently, over there, there's enough extreme violence and enough crude humor that to them, it still warrants a 15. So, what that really drives home for me, and my understanding, is the fact that, yeah, we shouldn't go into this Deadpool movie expecting a nice, squeaky clean movie. I've had a lot of people writing me saying, "Oh, wow, a Deadpool movie." Now, we've had on this show people writing in and saying, "Oh, good, Deadpool, this Once Upon a Deadpool, it's going to be a clean, family-friendly. I get to take my kids to go see Deadpool. Yay, I get to take the kiddies to go see Deadpool." You might want to slam the brakes on a little bit. Because it ain't G, it's PG-13. And there's enough in there that our good friends over there in the UK are saying, this still kind of warrants the same rating we gave the last Deadpool movie. So, boom. So, look, I don't care either way. I don't have kitties, and I love me some filthy. Bring on the filthy. But so, I don't care. But it just, to me, it's a little bit of a flag for those folks out there who have been writing in, and I'm sure folks all over the globe who are thinking, yeah, I get to take my kids to see a Deadpool movie. You might want to give that a thought. You might want to consider going to see Once Upon a Deadpool for yourself first, and then maybe think about taking the kiddies to go see it. Because clearly, there's still enough raunchiness in there that the UK Film Board gave it its R-rated equivalent, gave it the same rating, gave Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2. So, I don't know. How clean could this be? How far are they pushing this PG-13 rating on Once Upon a Deadpool? I'd be curious to see. I'm sure we'll find out more in the coming days. All right, let's move on now to the second email. And the second email today comes to us from Mitch Biller, who writes, "Hey John, since The Lion King is technically animation, does that mean it could be considered in the running for the best animated movie of the year? Or is it far enough from animation that it wouldn't count? Should we have a different title for these types of movies?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, Mitch. And yeah, we talked about this the other day. I mentioned on the show yesterday, and that includes film fans, YouTube pundits, all this kind of stuff, because I've been guilty of this too. We need to stop referring to this Lion King movie as live action. There's nothing live action about it. This is not a live action movie in any way, shape, or form. This is an animated film. It's being animated. You see, when they make live action movies, they make these live action movies on sets. This is where they make live action movies, all right? They make live action movies here with a physical set that they build, and they put actors in there, and they bring out the lights, and they have the grips and the cinematographers and sound guys holding their sound poles and the cameras and the directors going action. This is where, I keep pointing the wrong way, this is where you shoot a live action film. This is how you shoot a live action film. This, however, is not how they're shooting Lion King. This is where Lion King's being made. In sweaty offices with 40 and 50, 600, 5,000 animators all drooped over their desks, putting in keyframes and rigging up models and all that kind of stuff. This is where they're making Lion King. That's where they're making Lion King. This, my friends, make no mistake about it, is an animated film. There is nothing that isn't an animated film about this. This is 100% an animated film. There is no live action. They don't put in real giraffes and real lions. No, they're all animated. All animated landscapes. It is an animated film. So, yes, while there are still some people out there who want to refer to it as live action, it is not a live action film. Should next year then, or the next round of Academy Awards, should Lion King be considered for Best Animated Feature? Well, it's a feature and it's animated, so yes. There is absolutely no difference between this movie and Shrek 2. They're both computer animated films. The look of them is a little bit different, but they are both computer animated films. That's what it is. So yes, to me, there's simply no argument against it. Lion King should qualify and be in the running for that stupid fake award, the Academy Award for Best Animated Picture. A category that shouldn't exist, by the way, but it does, so whatever. So yeah, Lion King should absolutely be in the running for that. There's just no argument against it. There is no legitimate argument against it. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with that. All right, let's move on now to the third email of the day. And the third email today comes to us from Trenton Jessup, who writes, "Greetings and salutations, John." Well, greetings and salutations, Trenton. "The first wave of Aquaman reactions have come out online. Have you had a chance to see them? And do you think the reactions prove your theory that Warner Brothers has been showing a lot of confidence in this film, more so than the others they've put out?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, Trenton. And yes, the first wave of, the reviews for Aquaman, I mean, technically speaking, reactions, but it's their reviews. I mean, let's not play semantics here. The first round of the real reviews from film critics who have seen Aquaman so far have come out online. Now, I have been saying for a while, this movie is one to be excited about. Number one, just because I love Aquaman. Number two, at least I used to hate Aquaman, and then a bunch of you guys told me, "John, read Aquaman in the New 52. I started reading Aquaman in the New 52. Boom, suddenly I love Aquaman. Anyway, I love Jason Momoa in the role, but most importantly, they went out and got James Wan to direct. That was by far the most important thing. That was the thing that made us go, oh, Aquaman, huh? With James Wan? Anyway, then the trailer drops at Comic-Con, spectacular. Still don't want to get too excited because lots of great trailers have dropped at Comic-Con for some maybe not so great movies. But the trailers have looked great. That 5-minute preview looked great. Everything looks great. They insist on dropping in that December 21st window, which I still think is a bad decision. But it does show confidence. It's a bad decision, but at least it does show confidence on their part in the movie itself. Then they start saying they're going to be releasing the film early in other international markets. That says they're confident in it. Then they say they're going to have this screening, with Amazon Prime a week early before it comes out. That screams that they've got confidence in this film. So we've been saying for a while, look, Warner Brothers, on an unprecedented level, has been showing the type of confidence in this movie that they have never shown in any of their other films. At least their DC-related properties in the era of the DCEU. They have never shown any of their DCEU-era films nearly this kind of confidence that they have been showing in Aquaman. And on that basis, I have been saying for a while, guys, I think this thing's going to be great. It's possible it could suck like any other film, but I think this thing's going to be great. Well, the first round of reviews has started coming out, and these are the reactions. And this is across the board. I've yet to come across one negative one. That doesn't mean there won't be negative reviews. I'm just saying I personally haven't come across a single negative one yet. Sean O'Connell, for instance, chalk up a big wet win for DC. James Wan's Aquaman is an epic swing for the fences adventure that plunges fans into incredibly creative worlds, goofy in spots, but it's rollicking fun. See it on the biggest screen possible. Our friend Eric Eisenberg from over there at Cinema Blend writes, excited, I can now say how much I enjoyed Aquaman. It's a cool adventure built on some tremendous action sequences and set pieces with a great hero arc / performance from Jason Momoa as the glue. There's fun world building, and it looks wonderful. A great step for the DCEU. More start coming out. Jermaine Lucier from IO9 writes, Aquaman is a big, fun, wild ride. It's unabashedly melodramatic and over the top with the largest, most ambitious sense of scale imaginable. Parts of it are kind of bad, but they are not the majority, and oddly still fits in with the cartoony tone. Second best DCU movie, yeah. Brandon Davis writes, Aquaman is great. James Wan made a really unique superhero origin film, often crossing into fantasy / epic territory, but grounded in family and discovery. The world is visually incredible. Jason Momoa's Arthur Curry is a total badass. Patrick Wilson is a standout. Peter Soretta from over at Slash Film writes, Aquaman is better than expected. Feels like a Marvel Phase 1 movie in a good way. It's at its best when it's having fun and not taking itself too seriously. Black Manta is a great villain that comic book fans will love. Some truly spectacular one-shots and good action. Basically, across the board, and there were many, 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 many more. Basically, across the board, the reaction has just kind of been, holy crap, Aquaman's really good. Holy crap, Aquaman's really good. Now, before you start jumping into and get tempted into saying something like, oh, but that's just early. A number of these reactions are coming from people who did not like Justice League. A number of these reactions are coming from critics that I know did not like Batman vs. Superman. Lots of these reactions, these overwhelmingly positive reactions to Aquaman, are coming from people who I know did not like and have not really enjoyed the DCU up to now. A lot of them liked Wonder Woman, but aside from that, have not liked the DCU up until this point. And these people who didn't really like Batman versus Superman, who didn't really like Justice League, they go into Aquaman, they're coming out and going, holy crap, that was good. Now, none of them are going, using too much hyperbole and saying best movie of the year. Like, I don't see anybody saying that. But we didn't expect that, and we don't need that. What we are seeing is a lot of these guys coming out and going, crap, screw me, that was good. And a lot of them, you could tell, were saying it really surprised. Because I think despite the fact that I've been telling people, guys, look at all the confidence Warner Brothers is showing this. Every step they have taken has screamed that they know they've got a good film on their hands that people are going to enjoy. And I think a lot of people still haven't bought into it. And I think a lot of these film critics haven't bought into it. But they did what film critics should do. They took their expectations, left them at the door, went in, watched the movie, and gave it a fair shot. And they're all coming out going, holy crap, that was good. And that's got to be exciting to hear. And you know what? I don't care if you're a DC fan or not. As a fan of film, that should be exciting for you to hear. A big, blockbuster, epic adventure-style film coming out and everybody seems to be liking it, that's got to be good news. I don't care if you're a comic book movie fan or not. I don't care if you're a Marvel fan or a DC fan. That's got to be good news for you. That's got to be good news for you. Now, I don't know. Maybe I go to see Aquaman and maybe I hate it. I don't know. It's possible, I suppose. But I've absolutely believed this whole time that this movie looked like it was going in the right direction. I've really liked the people that have got involved. They've taken all the steps to show they've got confidence in this film. So I, for one, am not surprised at all. I am not surprised at all to hear these people, even people I know who didn't really like the DCU, coming out now and saying, you know what? Screw it. This movie's good. This movie's good. What will we think of it? I don't know. But we'll find out soon enough. I'm going to go see it in a couple of weeks. So that's when I'm first going to see it. I bought my tickets to December 15th. That's when I'm going to see it. So I'll let you guys know my thoughts once I have a chance to go in and watch it. But very excited for it. What is your guys' reaction to the reactions to Aquaman? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, let's move on now to the fourth email today. And the fourth email today comes to us from Mark P., who writes, "Hey, John, love your show." Thank you so much, Mark. I know 2019 is going to be a big year for Disney, but I hear a lot of people predicting record box office numbers. I've heard some say that Lion King, Avengers, Star Wars, and Frozen 2 could all easily make over $2 billion, and others claim Avatar's record will be broken. Nah, none of those movies are breaking Avatar's record. Anyway, I assume these movies will do great, but isn't making $2 billion a difficult task since only 4 movies have done it? Do some people need to pump the brakes? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Mark. And wait a minute, Mark, are you saying that there are film fans who get ahead of themselves? No. Do we as film fans sometimes get ahead of ourselves? No, of course we do. That's what we do. I do it, you do it, we all do it. The notion of looking at Star Wars, Avengers 4, Frozen 2, the notion of saying they will easily cross $2 billion is complete BS. It's complete BS. First of all, remember, Avengers 4, or Avengers Infinity War, I should say, Avengers 3, barely crawled over the $2 billion mark. Barely did it by the skin of its teeth. Right? It didn't even reach 2.1. Okay, so Avengers Infinity War, with all the hoopla, all the hype, all the everything, barely got into the $2 billion club. Star Wars The Force Awakens, which is just ahead of Avengers Infinity War, it also barely crawled into that $2 billion range. There is a reason, my friends, that the most exclusive club in the movie industry is this little thing we call the $2 billion club. It is the most exclusive club. In all of cinematic history, only 4 films have ever joined this club. Only 4. We got Titanic, you got Avatar, you got most recently Avengers Infinity War, and you got Star Wars The Force Awakens. Only 4 films in cinematic history have ever joined this club. And the 2 most recent ones to do it, Infinity War and Star Wars The Force Awakens, barely crawled into the club. They barely qualified. Like, they went up to the maitre d' at the first, and the maitre d' didn't even let them in right away. They were like, I don't know. Let me look at you. Your tie is not so good. All right, we're feeling That's a terrible French-Canadian accent. I don't know why I did that. Why are all maitre d's French-Canadian? I don't know. I sounded more like George St. Pierre. All right, we will let you in. That was also a terrible George St. Pierre. And the basic line is this. Even the 2 most recent ones barely got into that club. The notion, and you're not alone, I've heard other people saying this too, the notion that any film coming out in 2019 will easily get into the $2 billion, nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Could 1 or 2 of them get into the $1 billion club? Oh, that's possible. Easily? Nonsense. And ain't nothing, none of these films are going to touch Avatar. Maybe one of them could catch, its outside possibility could catch Titanic for the number 2 spot. None of them are going to touch Avatar. So there we have it. But what are the movies in the running? What are the movies in the running to join that $2 billion club? Well, being a Vegas guy and being a sports guy, I like sports odds, right? 4-1 is more likely to win than 8-1. You know what I'm saying? So here I put together, maybe if I give some thought to this, I'd make the list a little bit differently, but I want to throw these out here for you guys. So looking at some of the big films coming out in 2019, I put together some odds about, out of the films coming out, some of these big films, what are the odds these films have? Right at the top, you'll see I'm putting Avengers 4 and Lion King. I'm not saying it's likely that either of them, but I'll give them even money odds. I will give both Avengers 4 and Lion King 1-to-1 odds. I will give both of them 1-to-1 odds. So basically, to me, it's a coin toss. It's a straight up coin toss. Avengers 4 could very well end up being a $2 billion film, could very well end up being 1.85, whatever. It's either way, it's going to be a massive hit. Because of the reaction we're seeing worldwide to the Lion King trailer, I've bumped Lion King's odds way up. I might have had Lion King at like 4-to-1 before, but I'm putting it up equal footing with Avengers 4 right now. I'm saying Lion King and Avengers 4, I'm giving them both 1-to-1 odds. 50-50. It's an even money bet. Next up, I'm going to say Toy Story 2 is the next best shot. I'm going to put Toy Story 2 at 2-to-1 odds. Then Frozen 2, you can't ignore Frozen. Frozen 2, I'm going to give 3-to-1 odds, as well as Star Wars Episode 9. John, are you saying Toy Story has a better chance of making $2 billion than Star Wars Episode 9? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. We can debate that. Remember, I just kind of threw these together. Maybe I'd think more about it, but right now I'm saying, yeah, I think Toy Story has a better chance, and I think I think Frozen has just as good of a chance as Star Wars Episode 9. Spider-Man Far From Home, I'm going to give 4-to-1 odds on that. Wonder Woman 1984, I'm going to give 5-to-1. Captain Marvel, I'm going to give 7-to-1. Shazam, 8-to-1. Both Aladdin and How to Train Your Dragon 3, I'll give 9-to-1 odds of joining the $2 billion. Now we're getting some really unlikely territory. Lego 2, 10-to-1 odds. Godzilla, 12-to-1. And Hellboy, I'll give 20-to-1 odds. So, in my list, the most likely to join the $2 billion club is going to be Avengers and Lion King. Least likely out of my particular list there is Hellboy. I'm probably missing 1 or 2 films that maybe should be in the discussion as well. But those are the odds I'm giving it. Maybe you like the odds I'm giving it. Maybe you don't like the odds, whatever. Again, like I said, I might even come up with a different idea for something like that a little bit later on. But that brings us to today's, ladies and gentlemen, question of the day. Now, you can answer today's question of the day by simply going over to my Twitter account, which, of course, there's my Twitter handle right there, simply at John Campea. Go over to my Twitter account. It is the top tweet right now. And the question of the day is simply this. Of all the 2019 films, how many 2019 movies do you think are going to join the $2 billion club? I've given you 4 options. 0, 1, 2, or 3. 0 films will join the $2 billion club. 1 of them will, 2 of them will, or 3 of them will. Those are your options. Now, I've had the thing up for about 20 minutes now. Let me see where we're at. Okay, so over 1,600 of you have already voted. Right now, the leader, 44% of you say 2 of those films will hit $2 billion. 28% of you say 1 will. 18% of you are insane and are saying 3 of those films were. And right now, 10% of you are saying no films will join the $1 billion club. The $2 billion club, I should say. So that's just right now. We're going to run this poll for the next 24 hours, and we'll give you the final results in this poll. So once again, go to my Twitter, top tweet, answer the poll. Will 0, 1, 2, or 3 films from 2019 join the $2 billion club? Go and answer those questions there, and we will, of course, give the final results tomorrow. All right, guys. With all of that stuff out of the way, let's now go over and take some live questions. You guys have been firing in a whole bunch of live questions, so let's go over and see what it is you guys have been talking about. And we're going to start off today's live questions with the wrong button. And there we go. We're going to start off today's live questions with Donaldo Martinez, who writes, what would be the alternative for movie studios if Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon weren't around to purchase their movies they don't feel would work in theaters? Well, thanks a lot for the question, Donaldo. Well, really the same thing that they were doing before these movies came out. They would just put them direct to home video. Either, how with DirecTV you can purchase a movie on DirecTV or, put it out for rent on the Google Play Store or iTunes. They would just put it direct to that. Maybe some films they would say, like the Cloverfield movie, the most recent Cloverfield movie that they put out direct to Netflix, they were going to release it in theater. If Netflix hadn't been there, they probably just would have bit the bullet and put it in theater anyway. So for some of the films, they get to big screen, even though they don't deserve to be there. For a lot of them, they just do what has been done a lot historically. They'd probably just end up being direct-to-home video one way or the other. But, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, these services, these give other alternatives to the studios, which has been great for everybody. James Bonner writes, just got my tickets yesterday for Mary Poppins Returns for December 19th. Very nice. I had an invitation to go see it this Thursday. I had an invite to go see Mary Poppins this Thursday. But I can't go because I'm taking Anne somewhere. It is her Christmas present. I'm taking Anne somewhere. And I'm not going to say what it is yet. I'll let you guys know what it is so you can look for me on TV, but I'll let you guys know what it is a little bit later. But yeah, I cannot wait to see this movie. I mean, first of all, I was excited about it right away. Let me take that back. I wasn't super excited for it right away. But as it all started coming together and Emily Blunt got attached and blah, then the first trailer dropped and then I've been really excited for this. Now we're hearing Oscar buzz for this damn movie. So I'm really getting there. So I'm with you, James. Mike Hill writes, over under 25% on a CW Superman show. It depends. Do you mean like within the next 2 to 3 years? Within the next 2 to 3 years, I'll take under 25%. I just don't see a point in having a Superman show on when you have Supergirl, who is like just the exact same character. In many ways. In many ways, very different. But I mean, same origin story, same powers, basically the same costume. I don't see them doing that. But if you're going to ask me like in the next 10 years, I'd take over 25%. But for now, I'll go under 25%. Okay, let's see. Paul Downey writes, sup, John? Huge fan from Dublin, Ireland. Well, hello. That's where my favorite band of all time is from. You too. If Lion King and The Mandalorian are huge hits, will Jon Favreau be one of the best filmmakers of the decade? Well, I mean, there are a couple things to keep in mind here. First of all, what's his resume for this decade, not counting not counting Lion King? What's his resume? So let me just look it up here. Because I don't know that his resume, his directing resume, since 2000 on. Now, he did, what was the one he did about the Cuban food truck? I think that was called Chef. Chef was great. Chef was all kinds of great. So, since 2010, he's directed Iron Man 2. I like Iron Man 2, but not so much. Not so much. So we don't even look at Iron Man 2. He did Cowboys and Aliens. Not so good. Let's see. He did Chef, which was great. He did Jungle Book, which was great. So looking at his pre-existing body of work from 2010 to now as a director, no, he wouldn't qualify at all. Good, but he wouldn't qualify at all in best of the decade discussions. Okay, so let's say, and by the way, Mandalorian doesn't count because he's not directing any of that. He's written it, and that's great, but he's not the director, and it's not a movie, it's a TV show. So let's take the Mandalorian out. So let's look at Lion King. If Lion King is a huge hit in terms of finances and in terms of critic and audience reactions, if Lion King is a massive, massive hit, is he then in the discussion? I don't think so. Because then really at that point, you're talking about Jungle Book, which was, let's be honest, was not a Best Picture nominee, but it was really good. I love Jungle Book. And you got Lion King and you got Chef. But then you got knocks like Iron Man 2, which wasn't terrible, and Cowboys and Aliens, which was kind of terrible, working against him. Look, I love Jon Favreau as a filmmaker. I'm a big fan of Jon Favreau. But no, even if Lion King is a big, big hit, I don't think he gets into the discussion of best filmmakers of the decade. I don't think he gets into that discussion, even though he's really good. Luke1234 writes, Aquaman says Yahoo too many times. Nonsense. I don't think he says it enough, as a matter of fact. I could hear him say that all the time. Sebastian writes, my daily morning post-kids relief is John Campea. Post-kids relief. I like that a lot. That's very cool. Cody Carroll writes, does Anne miss her Infinity Gauntlet? It's funny she brought up, because I have the Infinity Gauntlet that Anne got me on the new set in the new studio, right? And I think it looks great in there. First of all, Anne bought that for me. Okay, that's mine. Secondly, It's funny. Anne did bring it up. She asked a couple of weeks ago. She said, "Oh, hey, where's the gauntlet?" I said, "Well, don't you watch my show? It's on my set." She goes, "Oh, I don't really pay attention too much to your show." My wife, ladies and gentlemen, my wife. But she did bring it up the other day. So no, she doesn't miss it. She knows where it is, and she got it for me. It's mine. Let's see here. Let's see. Odai Alyamani, I'm sure I'm butchering your name, Odai, writes, movie recommendation for you, Gio. Captain Abu Rayed, a small Jordanian film that really amazed me. I'm Jordanian, and I was really proud of what they did. You know, I get a kick like that, too, when I get to see these Canadian-made films. Well, first of all, you know I love my Canadian, good Canadian kid brothers and sister actors and actresses, right? Whether it's a Ryan Gosling, Ryan Reynolds, Rachel McAdams, whatever. I always get a big kick when I see my fellow Canadians doing great. But when it's actually Canadian filmmakers and it's Canadian films, and they're very few and far between that break through into an international stage, you get really proud. So I applaud you for supporting that. And Captain Abu Rayed, first of all, obviously I've never heard of it. I wouldn't even know where to find that. But I'll tell you what, Odai, fire me off an email. Let me know where I could find a film like that. Maybe I'll find, no guarantees, but maybe I'll have a moment that I can at least check it out. Luke1234 writes, have you heard that a representative from Peter Weller has stated that he will not reprise his role in RoboCop Returns? I think I might have heard something like that. I didn't read the quote myself. So I can't, either confirm nor deny that at all. If that's true, I'm not terribly surprised. Look, I remember talking ages ago about that whole thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if Peter Weller came back. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't at this point. So I don't think it's big major news either way. I would be curious to know that if it's true and Peter Weller is not returning for RoboCop Returns, I would be curious to know if that was a studio decision or if it was his decision. I mean, it's none of my business, but I would just I have to admit, at least be curious to know whose decision that would be. All right. Aviator 986 writes, saw the Artemis Fowl trailer, and all I can think of is A Wrinkle in Time, $132 million, and Tomorrowland, $209 million. However, Fowl could give Disney the edge they need to take the 2019 box office. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I think Artemis Fowl is probably going to be one of the lower box office take ones out of all, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because there's so many huge ones. I'm going to disagree with you. I didn't get that sense. I didn't get a sense that we were looking at another Tomorrowland or another Wrinkle in Time, which, by the way, Wrinkle in Time and Tomorrowland were both directed by great directors. So a great director does not guarantee your movie's going to be great or successful. Right? Both of them, high profile, wonderfully talented directors. Neither one worked out. So it's never a guarantee. That being said, you do have, a Sir Kenneth Branagh directing this Artemis Fowl. I thought it was a very intriguing trailer. I liked it a lot. And we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I also remember liking the trailers to Tomorrowland very much. And I didn't end up loving that film. I didn't mind Tomorrowland, but I did not love that film. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I can see why you get that feeling from it. I didn't myself. It will be curious to see if they can get an audience out to this thing. Lee Mallinson writes, are DC movies a yardstick? It seems it's headline news every time a movie passes Justice League or Wonder Woman's box office. No, not at all. And that's an exaggeration, Lee. That's not true at all. But it is relevant to bring up when another movie in its same genre that maybe wouldn't have been expected to beat something like that out does beat it out, then it's worth noting. But also to be fair, let's look at Venom. The other week, we were talking about how Venom passes Ant-Man and the Wasp. I mean, that was the news headline. So we talked about it. Never would have expected Venom to pass an MCU movie that just came off of Avengers Infinity War. Never would have expected that. But it did, so it made the news. The most successful DCEU film, not necessarily at the box office, but as far as audience reaction and critic response, the most successful DCEU movie so far has been Wonder Woman, an acknowledged worldwide smash hit. So yes, when Venom passes it's worth mentioning, just like we did for Ant-Man and the Wasp. And so the same thing when it passed Justice League. Justice League, which should have been DC's, response to an Avengers, and a Venom movie passes it, that is worth noting. But we don't bring it up every time. Oh, I don't know. Let me just take a peek here at something. Let me bring up Box Office Mojo here for a second, and I'm going to look at some release schedules. Like, for example, we don't bring it up if Bohemian Rhapsody passes Justice League. We don't talk about that because it has nothing to do with it. If Nutcracker and the Four Realms had passed it, we wouldn't bring it up because it has nothing to do with it. If, A Star is Born passes Wonder Woman, we don't talk about it because there's nothing to do with it. But when a comic book movie, particularly one like Venom, which had a lot of detractors against it when it started, that a lot of people said this movie is going to flop, it's never going to do anything. Hey, when it passes a Wolverine, we talk about it. When it passes Ant-Man and the Wasp, we talk about it. When it passes Justice League, we talk about it. And when it passes a global, worldwide, phenomenal hit like Wonder Woman, it's worth talking about. So you are exaggerating a great deal. It says whenever a movie... No. But when it is the same genre that had certain expectations and it beats certain landmarks, that's worth talking about. It absolutely is, whether it's when it passed Ant-Man or whether when it passes Wonder Woman. Edgar Magana writes, do you think Lion King makes $200 million opening weekend? Yes, I do. I wouldn't guarantee it. And I don't know that it breaks the opening weekend box office record. I don't know. But right now, after seeing the response, the worldwide global response to that trailer, yeah, if I had to put $5 on whether or not Lion King makes $200 million opening weekend, I would say yes. Bernard Gayton writes, John, you're right. Film is subjective. I watched Lady Bird, went in knowing that you didn't like it, and I ended up loving it. Well, you're not alone, Bernard. Everybody loved Lady Bird. I'm like the only freak that didn't like it. I am the only, crime against nature that didn't like it. I'm the only guy that didn't like it. So you're in good company. Lots of people like Lady Bird. And I loved Venom, even with its flaws. I had a really good time with Venom. I had a really, really good time. But yeah, man, all film is subjective. And because all film is subjective, I'm sure I'm not the only person that didn't like Lady Bird. And there are people that don't like Venom, people that do. All film is subjective. But I'm glad you enjoyed those films, man. Even if one of them I didn't, I'm glad you did. Preston Walden writes, I think putting Artemis Fowl into the August release date could be smart. Not much competition. Or it could be worrisome. August/September, a movie graveyard. I think there was definitely an era and a day when there were movie graveyards. But I think more and more in the last couple of years, I don't know that I believe in that thing anymore. With more and more movies coming out every year, it is truly becoming a full calendar. You can drop these movies just about any time. There was a time when February was considered a graveyard for movies, but guess what? The first Deadpool comes out, makes over $700 million worldwide, and all of a sudden other movies start opening in February. And you know what? I think that's becoming more and more of a thing. I think it's going to become more of an issue where your movie opens comparatively to other major movies, not so much what month are you opening. My concern for Aquaman, Bumblebee, Mary Poppins is not that they're opening, from December 14th to December 21st. My concern is that they're opening in such close proximity to each other. That's a little worrisome. Not the date, And I just believe the movie going on needs to become a year-round thing. I believe the movie going is a year-round thing. So, yeah, I honestly think we're good. I do. I think we're kind of good on that. Let's see here. Where else? I got lost here. Where's the next film? Oh, here we go. Marcus Robert Johnson writes, hey, John. Just after one trailer, my brother Travis thinks The Lion King will be the number one grossing movie of all time, period. How wrong or right is he? And over under 30% that will be. I'll take the under on that. I don't think anything is catching Avatar anytime soon. Because when you think about how much money Avengers Infinity War and Star Wars The Force Awakens made, when you think about how much money they made, which is mind-boggling, Avatar made over $800 million more. Most films never dream of even making $800 million, let alone you think how remarkable it is that Infinity War and Star Wars made so much. Oh my God. Avatar made over $800 million more. So you got to put this in perspective. To catch Avatar, number one, you got to make as much as Star Wars The Force Awakens did. And then on top of that, you got to make as much as Wonder Woman made. First, you got to make as much as Star Wars The Force Awakens did, which is going to be very, very tough to do. Then, once you do that, now you got to make as much as Wonder Woman did on top of that. It's a tall order. So I will take the under 30% that it'll catch Avatar and be the number one grossing film of all time. But I will say this, I believe it's got a real solid chance of beating out Star Wars Episode 9, Toy Story 4, Avengers Infinity War to be the number one film of 2019. I'd put it at 40%, which means I don't think it will, but I'll give it a solid 40% chance that it can. Pardon me. All right, let's move on here. Next one. Bernard Gayton writes, saw Fantastic Beasts and I like it, but hard to follow. Is it because J.K. Rowling was the screenwriter of it? Before she wrote the book and had screenwriters adjust it for the movie, she's mentioned it's a different beast for her. Oh, listen, writing a book and writing a screenplay are two totally different things. They're completely different things. Writing is not writing. There are different elements to writing. And it's like saying running a 100-meter dash and running a 20-mile marathon is the same thing. They're both running, right? They're both running. They're totally different things. Totally different things. And I also like Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald. I actually quite liked it. Was the script maybe not as smooth as it could have been? Yeah, maybe. And that might be it. They might have been better served for J.K. to write the story and then hand the story off to a screenwriter to adapt it into a screenplay. That might have served them better. But then again, I don't think J.K. did a bad job. I don't think she did a bad job. But yeah, it may have served them a little bit better if they had gotten a screenwriter to actually do the screenplay. All right, Daryl Best Wadley writes, do you watch the show The Goldbergs? I love it. You know what? I never have. And then maybe about a number of months ago, it was one of those things where, okay, none of my shows are on TV right now that I watch, and I'm all caught up on most of my shows. This was months ago. Hey, a lot of people talk about this Goldberg show. Okay, I'll give Goldbergs a shot. So I loaded up Goldbergs, I watched, and I ended up watching like 4 episodes in a row because I thought it was very funny. And I never went back to it. I don't know why. I just never went back to it. I think just eventually my shows started coming back on. I got caught back up in those. So I've seen like 4 episodes of Goldbergs, but I gotta say, even though I don't watch the show, I did really enjoy the 4 that I watched. And yeah, so maybe I should give it another shot because I did quite enjoy it. I don't know why I stopped watching it. Daryl Best Wadley follows up with, just rewatched Lion King and I noticed Timon and Pumbaa don't fit in the movie. Without them, Simone would have still survived and made it back to the Pride Rock. Oh, I don't agree with that at all. I do not agree with that at all. You're making the assumption that out on his own, Pumbaa would have what am I trying to say? Without running in to Timon and Pumbaa, you're making the assumption that little cub Simba would have made it from childhood to adulthood alone on his own out there in the wild. That's a big, big, big assumption that I do not ascribe to. The way I've always looked as a fan is meeting Timon and Pumbaa saved his life. I don't think he survives on his own in the wild had he not had them becoming his surrogate family. So I'm going to disagree with you on that. Honestly, I'm gonna disagree with you on that. Tyler Yeats writes, do you think a live-action Polar Express could or should ever be made? Could, yes. Should, I don't know. You know me, I'm totally up for anybody remaking anything, including doing live-action adaptations of animated films. Because there's no skin off my nose if they're good or bad. But it's not one I would pick. It's not one I would pick to do. But it's certainly there. It's a recognizable IP. I wouldn't doubt. Look, I honestly wouldn't doubt if within the next 5 years we did get a Polar Express live action. Wouldn't doubt it at all. All right. Aviator 986 writes, any idea what Hugh Jackman's huge announcement will be tomorrow on the Today Show? Just curious. Well, first of all, I think the announcement is on Thursday. I think. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's tomorrow. I thought it was Thursday. I could be wrong about that. I have a feeling he's going to be announcing, I don't know, he might even be announcing that he's directing a movie. I really do not think it's going to be Wolverine related. I don't think it will. But I'm not going to put it past him either. Like, I wouldn't put up $100 that it's not Wolverine related, but I really don't think it is. It's probably going to be something else. And it even could be something as like big as he's going to direct for the first time or something like that. Could be. For all we know, it's not even movie related. It might be a live Broadway production thing. He might be announcing that he's going to launch a new thing on Broadway. One interesting thing to note, though. On his tweet that Hugh Jackman put out, saying big announcement on Thursday, it is interesting to note that right at the top where it says liked by, two names pop up. Ryan Reynolds and Josh Brolin. Now, that, again, doesn't necessarily mean anything, but if you were a conspiracy theorist and you went, I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you for at least going, But, again, who knows what it's going to be, but I don't think it's going to be Wolverine related. Grandmaster writes, if Jungle Book can make $1 billion, Lion King can make $2 billion. Well, yes and no. Never underestimate how big Double is. Double is not an inconsequential thing. Can Lion King make $2 billion? Yes, it can. That's why I gave it 1-to-1 odds. I say it's a coin toss. I'm right down the middle on that. I think it's a total coin flip as to whether it does or does not. So certainly it can. But I don't think it's an automatic that, hey, if Jungle Book can make $1 billion, and by the way, Jungle Book didn't make $1 billion. I think it came really close, but I don't think it made $1 billion. You know what? Let me just look that up just to make sure. It got close to making $1 billion. Jungle Book. Maybe if I spelt it right. Maybe then I'd get better search results if I spell things right. Let's see. Jungle Book. Where is it? It ended up making, $966 million. So it didn't even make $1 billion, but it came really damn close. But that was a huge, huge hit. Double is an impressive thing. So I don't think you can say just because Jungle Book did that well, then it's a no-brainer that Lion King will do Double. I wouldn't say that. It'll be close. I think it will be close. Murray Reich writes, while I do love Lion King, why is it considered subjectively the most beloved animated film of all time? Because it's the best. It's a beautiful balance of great Shakespearean type of narrative with wonderful music, heartbreaking moments, uplifting moments, like when Simba goes up on Pride Rock and lets out his roar in that rainstorm. Come on, man. Tell me you don't get chills. And Mufasa, Mufasa, Mufasa. I mean, there's just a fantastic hero, a fantastic villain. It's just, it's the whole package, man. It's the whole package. Let's see. Toonie Tube writes, over under 40% Matt Reeves' Batman is happening someday. I'm tempted to take the under on 40, but I won't. At 40, I'll take the over. I'll take over 40% that the Matt Reeves Batman still happens. But I'm telling you what, Toonie, if you had said over under 65%, I might have taken the under. It's just, time just keeps ticking, tick, 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 and we just wait longer and longer and longer, and it's like, We know Matt Reeves is doing a whole bunch of other stuff. He's got these Netflix things he's doing. He's signing all these other deals. Meanwhile, we're just like, so where's this Batman thing that you're supposed to turn in your script for a year ago? Where's that? I still will take the over 40%, though. I will take over on that. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm at the point now that I don't know I would take the over at 65. So that's just where I'm at right now. Murray Reich writes, who's going to win the box office in February? How to Train Your Dragon 3 or Lego Movie 2? You know what? I'm going to go How to Train Your Dragon 3. And the reason I'm going to go How to Train Your Dragon 3 is because the box office results of Lego Batman and Ninjago, both of which were really good movies, both of which coming hot off the heels of the Lego movie, and both of which not doing nearly as much as they deserve to do. So Lego Batman, which was terrific, by the way, just fantastic, made $311 million. That's not bad, but nowhere near what we thought what it could have. Ninjago, which was much better than I thought it was going to be, it only ended up making $123 million. Now, we go to the original Lego movie, which also didn't burn the house down at the box office, but it did pretty damn well at $469 million. But subsequently, Batman then dropped down to 310, Ninjago down to 120 something. Because of that, I still think the Lego movie 2 can do very well, but I'm going to go How to Train Your Dragon 3. Which I also think How to Train Your Dragon is a better series. How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2 are magnificent films. Just magnificent. So I'm going to say How to Train Your Dragon 3. Let's see. Nikhil Shirsat writes, hey, John, man, does daylight savings suck? I can't watch the live show as it now starts at 11:30 p.m. in India, and so my watch begins until March 2019. Well, enjoy your slumber, Nikhil. Maybe there are some days you can drop in and visit us, but don't worry. That's the beauty of YouTube, man. It's there for you to watch as soon as you get up. But thanks for throwing in your comment, man. I appreciate that. We're going to miss you around here until March. All right, Kick It to the King Productions writes, you had said in the past that you want Fantastic Four back in Marvel, but now with Disney merger, you don't want them back in Marvel along with X-Men. What is it then? Why are you back and forth on this? Oh, I'm not back and forth on this. I have always been 100% consistent on this. I have always said, that I like X-Men properties and their world being separate from the MCU. However, we have seen people try and fail at least 4 times now to do Fantastic Four on the big screen, and every time it's failed. Every time it's failed. They've had great success with, they've had fantastic success with Deadpool. They've had fantastic success with, not 100%, but they've had fantastic success with their X-Men properties. They've enjoyed great success, but not with Fantastic Four. And I remember on one of my shows even saying, I like things being separate, blah, blah, but even I will say, look, man, 4 strikes and you're out. 4 strikes and you're out. Even I, who want all these things separate, even I will say, gosh, maybe Fantastic Four should go back to Marvel. Because I'm sorry, but you've tried and tried and tried and tried and failed and failed and failed and failed. At some point, you got to go, enough's enough. You can't say the same about Deadpool. They've crushed Deadpool. You can't say the same about X-Men. Days of Future Past, X-Men 1, X-Men 2, First Class. They've crushed. They've had a couple of missteps too, but they've crushed their X-Men stuff. Fantastic Four, not so much. So with Fantastic Four, I've always gone, even I would be willing to say, time to send Fantastic Four back to Marvel. Because, hey, you tried once, don't worry, try again. Try it again? All right, well, maybe third time's a charm, and then they try it again, and it's like, oh my God. Oh my God, it just becomes clear at some point that you don't know what to do with that property. So, even though I like these things being separate, the Fantastic Four thing is something that's been tried and tried again and failed again. And so, but I've always been pretty consistent with that message. I haven't really gone back and forth on that at all. But anyway, that's just my view of it. Jack121 writes, What do you think Warner Brothers is prepared to do if Aquaman is a smash hit critically and financially? Solo films only? No, look, here's the thing. Warner Brothers has always gotten themselves into trouble by being completely reactionary. Marvel, big long game plan, executes it well, sticks to the game plan. Warner Brothers, I think we're doing this. Oh, this movie didn't get a great reaction. Quick, change everything. Oh my God, something didn't work out in one step that we thought, change everything. Oh, we got sort of a plan. Something worked kind of well. We'll cancel everything else. Something worked. Let's now reshape everything. That has been Warner Brothers when it comes to their DC stuff. They have been, and I've been saying this for 5 years, they have been totally reactionary. That's been Warner Brothers. Reaction, 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 reaction. I think right now, under Walter Hamada, they are not going to do that. They already believe they have a winner in Aquaman. They already believe they have a winner. So I don't think it's going to change. I don't think if Aquaman comes out, honestly, I don't think if Aquaman comes out and is a massive hit, and I don't think if Aquaman comes out as a massive flop, I don't think it's going to alter Walter Hamada's plan one bit. I think one of the big things they've needed to address over at DC with their movies is they had to stop being so damn reactionary. Something little happened that we weren't expecting. Oh, change everything. That's been Warner Brothers. That's been Warner Brothers. So, honestly, I don't think anything, nor should it. They already think they've got a big winner. Big smash success should not change one thing with their plan. So whether their plan already is to just do solo films, and by the way, their success and failure had nothing to do whether their films were solo films or team films. It's had to do whether they had good films or bad films. It had nothing to do whether they were team-up films or big group films or solo films. That had nothing to do with it. It had everything to do with whether or not they made good movies or not. And that's a subjective thing up to the individual audience member. But hey, look, let's call it what it is. Despite how many of them I've liked, most of the audience didn't. And that's what it's about. So hopefully, the success or failure of Aquaman will not change whatever Walter Hamada's long-term plan is. They got to stop being so damn reactionary. And at least I hope that's what it looks like they're going to be doing moving forward. Let's see. Alex Von Gollum writes, "Hey, John, I know this won't happen, but I would love that Emily Blunt said in her movie, 'I'm Mary Poppins,' y'all. I wouldn't. I think it's a bad move." There are days when I thought about that and think, oh, that would be hilarious, but really it would be a bad, awful, terrible thing to do. It's completely out of character for Mary Poppins, and not even everybody would understand what the reference is. So you'd be hurting the movie for the sake of a cheap, quick laugh when not even everybody in your audience is going to get that cheap, quick laugh. So I would say, while I would chuckle for sure if she said it, it would be a fundamentally dumb thing for them to do, because it's not, you would be having Mary Poppins break character for a joke that not everybody's going to get, because not everybody saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2, right? And to have Mary Poppins go, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all," that would be, well, I might chuckle. I'm going to finish my chuckling and go, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. So, but hey, I'm sure a lot of people are like you and me, Alex, who would get a chuckle out of it happen, but it won't happen, and I don't really think it should. Let's see. HV39000 writes, "Forgive me, John, I'm going to keep referring to Lion King as a live-action movie. I may be wrong, but calling it an animated movie doesn't do it justice." Well, there's a couple of problems I have with that with HV3. Number one, whether you want to call it a live-action film or not, it is an animated film. There is nothing live-action about it. And you might as well call Pinocchio a live-action. Well, that's not fair because there is a live-action version of Pinocchio. But you might as well call the current existing, what's the movie with Ariel and Under the Sea? Little Mermaid. You might as well call Little Mermaid live-action. Because that makes as much sense. Calling Little Mermaid live action makes as much sense as calling this Lion King movie live action. They're not. They're both animated films. But where I take an issue is to say, calling an anime movie doesn't do it justice. That suggests that live action is inherently superior to animation, and I disagree. A good movie is a good movie. That's they use the animation medium or the live action medium. I don't believe either is inherently better than the other. It's just the medium, right? There's just the medium. The movie is what's important. The story is what's important. The script is what's important. All that kind of stuff. Which medium they use to deliver it. So I will take issue with you, HV3, making it sound as if animated is somehow inferior to live action. I disagree. They're simply two different mediums that filmmakers can choose to use as their tool and their delivery device for their movie and their story. But neither, I believe, is inherently superior to the other. And it's fine. You can call the new Lion King live action all you want. You can call it live action all you want. You know, I can start calling Hugh Jackman Heather. I can just call him Heather. There, it's up to me. But his name is not Heather. Doesn't matter. I'm going to call him Heather. Hugh Heather Jackman. That's his name now. Because just Hugh Jackman doesn't quite do it justice. Hugh Heather Jackman. So see, I can make up names too. I can just call so, I mean, that's fine. If you want to call it that, you can call a car bubblegum if you want, but it doesn't change the fact that it's a car. It's not bubblegum. I can call Hugh Jackman Heather all I want. It doesn't change the fact that he is his name is Hugh Jackman. It's not Heather, no matter what I call it. So you can call Lion King live action all you want, and that's cool. But my friend, my fellow film fan, it doesn't change the fact that it's not live action. You're calling it something it is not. So I just think that's something we got to wire our brains to, man. I mean, it looks incredible, but it's still animation. It's still animation, right? I'm Upset writes, will we ever see another Hulk film? In my opinion, probably not. It's only if Universal and Marvel can work it out. Look, remember, Marvel can make a new Hulk film anytime they want. It's just that Universal gets the rights to distribute it. But they don't want somebody else to distribute their films. Well, then they're at a stalemate, and they're just going to keep having to use Hulk as a secondary character. So, I don't know. They got to figure out a way to get that straightened out, man. They got to figure out a way to get that straightened out. Emmanuel, Og, Ike. I'm sure I butchered your name, Emmanuel. I apologize for that. John, please watch Black Mirror. It's breathtaking. You know what, John, Emmanuel? I keep having so many people tell me that. And I did see one episode of Black Mirror, which won an Emmy. I like from the one I watched, everybody said, "Oh man, you watched the right one." It was that one where it's like the girl, and it's the girl in Terminator and Halt and Catch Fire, and I can't. Why am I forgetting her name? Anyway, and they're living in a virtual, kind of like a Matrix world, and she meets another girl, and the two girls fall in love, and it turns out they live outside, and like one's like has physical impairments, the other's like really old, and I don't know. I can't remember, like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was wonderful. And it's the only one I ever watched. So I've had a lot of people tell me that I should really check it out. And, you know, at some point I'm going to go back and start watching because I've had too many good people like you, Emmanuel, tell me I should. All right, guys, we've already gone over an hour, and I still got a lot to go here. So I'm going to start flying through these questions. Holland Love writes, so is Clark Kent also alive in the DCU or what? Yeah, that's easy to explain. That's no problem. So yes, Clark Kent is clearly going to be back. Actually, we saw him back as Clark Kent, remember? At the end of Justice League, it kind of ends off with him walking through the street. He's got his Clark Kent glasses on and his, his Daily Planet suit on. So he's back. He's back. Felonious Chino writes, first time in LA tomorrow from BC for the Russo Q&A. Well, first of all, welcome to LA. Have a good time. Make sure you go down to Hollywood. It's a little dirty, but it's great to see the Walk of Fame, see the Hollywood sign, see the Dolby Theater, which is where it used to be called the Kodak Center. It's where they hold the Academy Awards every year. You get to see all that kind of stuff. I remember my first time coming to LA, man. As a film fan, I just loved it. Daniel Fitzpatrick writes, hey, John, much love from a Patreon supporter. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. And by the way, special hello and thank you to all of you guys for my Patreon supporters. You guys are the backbone that keeps my channel going. Thank you for doing all that you do. And by the way, guys, give this opportunity for a little plug for our Patreon supporters. A lot of people ask me, John, why aren't there a podcast of your show? There are, but it's only for Patreon supporters. We got a great Facebook group with a wonderful community in there. Check it out. check out patreon.com. Let me just bring this up quick as my cheap little plug. Check out patreon.com/John Campea. That's where you get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter keeps these shows on the air, and what little perks there are to being a Patreon supporter too. So maybe you'll want to check that out, and maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too. So anyway, thank you, Daniel, number one, for being a Patreon supporter, and number two, for giving me an opportunity to plug it. David Goldstein writes, over under 60% Smallville cameo in Elseworlds. Well, of course, yesterday we talked about the fact that Stephen Amell put up a picture of both Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum, who were Superman and Lex in Smallville, were together in his office. And people say, oh, is there going to be crossover? I'm going to take under 60%. I just don't see how they would have been able to keep that a secret. But man, if they do, that'll be pretty fun. So, but 60% is too high of a number. I'm going to go way under that. Aaron Strelinsky writes, I'm not seeing Julie Andrews in the credits for Mary Poppins Returns. What are the odds that she's not actually in the sequel? They're saying she's not. They're saying she's not in it. Which I guess makes sense because this isn't a reboot. This is supposed to be a sequel. And we've got a new person playing Mary Poppins. So that does make it problematic. You could still try to squeeze her in a cameo, and if she is doing a surprise cameo, they wouldn't put it in the credits. So I would still say there's a 10% chance she appears, but from everything I'm hearing, Aaron, I'm hearing she's not in it. I still believe there's a 10% chance, and if it is a surprise cameo, they wouldn't put it in the credits. So, but my understanding is that it is unlikely. Mike Ippolito writes, thoughts on Stan and Ollie, Oscar-worthy? Well, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't say if it's Oscar-worthy or not. I know this. I saw the first trailer. It's really good first trailer. But I've talked to a couple of people who've seen it, and they were not sounding so enthusiastic about it. That doesn't mean anything. But all I can say is that I really like the first trailer, but I'm not hearing amazing things about the movie itself, so take that for what it's worth. Mercer Create writes, Keith David / Mufasa instead of James Earl Jones reboot after all. I don't know. I mean, look, Keith David is one of those guys who's got an incredibly recognizable voice. The few, the strong, the Marines. Keith David's got a great voice for sure. I don't know Mufasa. I mean, look, I'm all for it. It is a reboot, so get somebody else, but it's animated. It's not like they got the same actor in. It's a voice actor. I am personally very happy they got James Earl Jones back. I just do kind of think they should have brought Jeremy Irons back as well, or just leave them both out, because to me, they kind of are synonymous with each other. Pedro Lopez writes, Rocky 1 and 2 versus Creed 1 and 2. Which 1-2 combo better? Rocky 1 and 2. Right. Look, Creed 1 and 2 are great, but let's not forget, Rocky won Best Picture of the Year at the Academy Awards. I think Rocky 2 was nominated for Best Picture of the Year. Creed 1 and 2 are both great, but they're not quite Rocky 1 and 2, in my opinion. John Benedict writes, let's see, where'd he go? There he is. I doubt Hugh is playing Wolverine again, but I'd love to see him host the Oscars again. Do you think they should ask him back? Oh, absolutely. I thought he was a great Oscar host. And he's a triple threat. He can sing, he can dance, he can act. He is a legitimate movie personality. I would love to see him back, personally. Would love to see him back. I doubt that's what he's announcing, but I'll tell you what, John DeBenedict, I would be excited. If that is what they announce, I'll be damn happy about it. Pedro Lopez writes, just saw Hereditary, loved it, and Toni Collette's performance, especially that dinner scene, worthy of an Academy Award nomination. Would you agree? As of right now, yes. I still have a few films I got to see this year. I mean, the end of the year's not here, but if I had to put together my 5 list right now, I have a hard time imagining not putting Toni Collette on that list. And by the way, the kind of ceremony that kicks off award season was the Gotham Awards. The Gotham Awards were just held, and Toni Collette, by the way, did win Best Actress at the Gotham Awards. That doesn't guarantee anything for the Oscars, but just an interesting little tidbit there. Ben Rayner writes, Hugh is co-stars Once Upon a Deadpool. Huge. I mean, look, I would love it. And by the way, I think there's a solid 50% chance. My number changes, but right now, today, I'm feeling like there's a solid 50% chance that Hugh Jackman appears in a cameo in Once Upon a Deadpool. But would they announce that publicly? Wouldn't that ruin the cameo? So I'm going to guess that that is not the big announcement. I'm going to guess that that's not the announcement. But hey, I totally think it's a coin toss that he appears in it. I really think he'll make an appearance in it. All All right. Nathan Oswald writes, who's more typecast bad guy, Sean Bean or Willem Dafoe? Well, both of them have been given several heroic roles. I'll be honest with you, I don't think either of them are typecast as bad. Well, look at Sean Bean. I mean, his biggest role in years was Game of Thrones, and he was a hero. Willem Dafoe has often been a hero. I don't know that either of them are typecast as bad guys, Nathan, to be completely honest with you. So I got to take the neither. I'm going to take the neither option on that one. Dimsum05 writes, best animated films shouldn't exist. Yeah, I don't think it should exist either. Listen, best animated film was created by the Oscars simply to take heat off themselves because 7 out of 10 years running, a little history, 7 out of 10 years in a row, the number one critically rated films of the year were animated films, mostly from Pixar. And never were they, in that stretch, none of them got best picture nominations, despite the fact that 7 out of 10 years, an animated film was the number one critically rated film of the year. So there was growing pressure. And the Academy simply created the best animation category simply as a cop-out. They simply created it as a cop-out. Now, don't get me wrong. I celebrate the best animated films and at the Oscars, and when they win, that's great. But yeah, seriously, if I was a board member of the Academy, I'd get rid of the category. It's a cop-out. A movie is a movie. Narrative. Documentaries are different because they're not narrative storytelling. It's completely different. But storytelling movies are storytelling movies. Whether it uses the medium of animation or the medium of live action, I would get rid of it personally, but I don't think they're going to do that anytime soon. All right. Kev P writes, the UK Cineworld Monthly Pass started in 1999 with UGC. I don't know what UGC is. Before Virgin, and then Cineworld took over. So some people have had it for nearly 20 years. Yeah, and I've been talking for over a decade, but yeah, maybe in some cases it's been even longer. A lot of people seem to think Movie Pass is what started the whole movie membership thing. No, it didn't. It was around for ages before Movie Pass did it. Movie Pass just copied an idea from Europe. They just copied that idea, brought it over here, and AMC had been looking at doing it for years anyway. But yeah, I mean, you're right, Kev. It's been around a long time. They're the ones who pioneered it and made it go. And now Cineworld owns Regal. So you know Regal is going to have their movie membership coming out pretty soon. I can't wait to see what kind of membership pass they have. Raymond Verrata writes, Happy Giving Tuesday. Support your charities. Oh yeah, today's Giving Tuesday. Yeah, I thank you for shouting that out, Raymond. Guys, it's always a great time. You know I like to talk about charities on this show. It's always a good time. Find a good charity. Donate $5. You know what? Instead of hitting up McDonald's later today, or maybe instead of going out for that beer later tonight, take whatever money you were going to do that with, and just, hey, for today, you know what? I'm going to take that $6 I was going to spend on a beer tonight, and I'm going to donate it to a women's shelter. I'm going to donate it to, tragedy relief, or I'm going to just donate to something. Give today, guys. Give today. Thanks for bringing that up, Raymond. I really appreciate that, man. Anonymous writes, should we care what critics thinks or go off gut? Oh, no, look, I believe I've always said you absolutely should care what critics think. It's the same thing. Like, would you buy a car without reading reviews on the car? Would you buy a $2,000 laptop without first doing some research and reviewing what some people think of that laptop? At the end of the day, you should still go with what you feel best with, but in determining what you feel best with, you should incorporate reviews, whether it's about cars, schools you're going to go to, laptops you get, or movies you go to see. Because remember, going to the movies is an investment of time and money. It doesn't mean it don't, and listen, I'm not saying rely on critics. I'm not saying that. But making it a part of your decision-making process, absolutely. Absolutely. Find some critics that you really trust. Find critics that you really enjoy. And make them a part of your decision-making process. Like for me, there are some people who, for whatever reason, really trust my opinions and like what I say, right? But what I'll do is when I see a movie that a lot of people are loving and I didn't like, what I'll say is, look, guys, I didn't like this movie. Here's why and here's why and here's why. But you may want to go see it anyway, because while I didn't like it, there are a lot of people out there who do, and it might be a movie for you. So take it with a grain of salt that I don't like it, but other people do, so you may want to check it out anyway. I think you shouldn't rely. It's like, well, this critic said not to see it, so I'm not going to see it. This critic said I should see it, so I'm absolutely... No, don't be that. But it should be a part of your decision-making process because you are investing time, and we all have limited time in this earth, and you're investing some money because it's going to cost you money, buy your tickets, buy your food, all that kind of stuff. Absolutely, you should absolutely listen to what critics say, but don't make them exclusively what you base your decision on. Make it a part of your decision-making process, and then make your decision. Abraham Asif writes, I think Lion King could make $1. Yeah, well, I think you're pretty safe there to say that it'll make at least $1. I think that's a pretty safe assumption. Let's see, where are we here? Almost at the end here. All right, Alan Gonzalez writes, we'll make sure I didn't miss anybody. No, Alan Gonzalez writes, how was Avatar in theater for 10 months? Most movies last 3 months. Hey, you know what? There was another movie like that. Titanic was in it forever. Avatar was in it forever. I mean, even when it hangs on to one last, you just don't see things like that anymore. People just kept going back again and again and again and again and bringing more people to see it. Same thing happened with Titanic. Same thing happened with My Big Fat Greek Wedding. That was one that was in theaters for like 7 months or something stupid like that. I can't remember exactly. I'm just pulling that out of my ass. But yeah, it was. And I don't know for sure that it was 10 months, but yeah, it was in there a long time. People just kept going back. And they kept bringing more people to see it, and it just had legs, man. Carlos Rojas writes, hey, John, so after looking at the early reviews, I'm really excited for Aquaman because I'm surprising my brother and taking him to see it on the 15th, which is his birthday. That's a nice birthday present, dude. That is a very generous present from you, dude. Really, really, really good. Let's see here. And by the way, for those of you, wait a minute, 15th, it opens the 21st. Don't forget, Warner Brothers and Amazon announced that Amazon Prime members got early access to get tickets to a special screening across the country on December 15th for Aquaman. And Amazon Prime members were able to buy up to 10 tickets. I went in immediately, bought 6 tickets for me and a couple of friends. So a bunch are saying, so Carlos, we're taking your brother? You're a good brother, man. I hope your brother appreciates just how good of a brother you are. All right. King T'Challa writes, I enjoyed Superman, but not the other DCU movies. I believe the Wonder Woman hype and waste my money. Won't fall for it again. I'll rent Aquaman. Well, I mean, it all depends, King T'Challa. I mean, I liked Wonder Woman a lot. I thought it was a very good movie. Did I think it was like when people start talking, it's going to get Oscar buzz? I thought that was ridiculous. I thought that was, no, it didn't deserve any Oscars. But I thought it was really good. But that's the subjectivity of film, right, King? There's going to be movies you hear that are good that you watch that aren't any good. There's going to be movies you hear that are good and you watch them and they are good. There's going to be movies you hear that aren't any good and you watch it and you like it. There's going to be movies you hear aren't any good and you don't like it. But that's the subjectivity of film. It all depends on who you listen to. Look, there are movies everybody likes that I don't like Lady Bird. Or whatchamacallit, Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner. Everybody loves the original Blade Runner. No matter how many times I've tried to get into it, I can't. There are going to be movies like that, and maybe Wonder Woman's for you, and it's all totally cool. That's the subjectivity of film, so don't you apologize for it one little bit. But hey, man, wait to see. Look, if everybody comes out raving about it, maybe you got to listen to some friends that you trust. Maybe you got some friends that go see it before you, and they didn't like it, then you know, yeah, I can wait to rent it. Or maybe they come back too and say, dude, you got to go see this. Just go in with modest expectations and see what happens. All right, Marie Seifring writes, have you ever seen the 2005 documentary about Canadian folk singer Leonard Cohen called I'm Your Man? I ran across the trailer browsing song lyrics. Nope, never have. And you'd think, being a good Canadian kid, that it's something I should check out, but I never have. So I'll be honest with you too, Marie. I've never even heard of that one. I'm Your Man. Never heard of it. But Leonard Cohen is kind of like a national treasure to Canadians, so I will have to open my eyes for it. But right now, I've never even heard of it, so thank you for putting that on my radar. Raymond Verada writes, did you see the Netflix trailer for Ultraman? I haven't. I just read this morning that Ultraman thing was coming, but I did not see the trailer yet, so I'm going to have to go and check that out. The Stealth Prince writes, saw The Departed for the first time. Leo's amazing. That whole movie's fantastic. If you haven't seen The Departed, 2 things. Number 1, see The Departed. But then number 2, see the original film that The Departed is based on. The original Departed is actually called Infernal Affairs. It's an Asian cop movie. It's almost exactly the same as The Departed, but it's the original. The Departed is a remake. The Departed is one of the great examples of why remakes can be awesome. And The Departed, by the way, won Best Picture of the Year and was the movie that finally won Martin Scorsese a Best Directing Oscar. It was The Departed that did it. It's an amazing movie, and you're right. Leo's great in it. Mark Wahlberg's great in it. Alec Baldwin's great in it. Matt Damon is fantastic in it. Jack is fantastic. Everybody's great. It's a wonderful movie. Make sure you check it out. Binyam Gaming writes, please stream Spider-Man maybe on a second channel. I'm going to stream me playing Spider-Man on this channel. I will live stream me playing Spider-Man on my PS4, and you guys can laugh and mock me for how terrible I am because I cannot use a PS4 controller. So I'm going to do my best. Maybe it'll be tonight, maybe it'll be tomorrow, but I will do some streaming of me playing Spider-Man. Don't you worry. And you guys can laugh and mock me, and which I'm sure you will do. Let's see. Jonah Thawny writes, how about Florian Montenu for Colossus New X-Men? Okay, so Florian, whose last name I've never been able to pronounce, he's the guy who plays the new Drago. He plays Ivan Drago's son, Victor Drago, in Creed 2. Dude is a freak of nature. Absolute freak of nature. But how about Florian for I don't know. I mean, I didn't really get to see him act. I would prefer go out and get a legitimate actor, unless with Colossus you don't need, it's going to be a tiny part and he doesn't really need to say anything. If you need some legitimate acting being done, go get a legitimate actor. Florian's not a legitimate actor. He didn't have to do a lot of acting in Creed 2. What little they needed him to do, he did pretty well, but he's not an actor per se. So I wouldn't be down for it myself. Let's see here. Last 2 questions. Jose Bravo writes, what do you think this means for DCEU's continuity? What do I think what means for DCEU's continuity? Aquaman? Aquaman's in continuity, so I'll be honest with you, Jose, I'm not really clear on what it is you're asking. Sorry about that. Javier Rios writes, final question of the day. I actually think X-Men Apocalypse is a good movie. Not the best, but pretty good, 7 out of 10. Hey, man, that's the subjectivity of film. I didn't think X-Men Apocalypse was a dumpster fire, but I was let down by it because Age of Apocalypse, to me, is my all-time favorite comic book story. Age of Apocalypse is my all-time favorite comic book story. I even like it more than The Dark Knight Returns. And so I was so psyched about X-Men Apocalypse, and it let me down. I wouldn't call it a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10. I'd probably give it a 5, maybe a 4. So I didn't think it was a complete dumpster fire. But the subjective film is, I know some other people that really quite liked it. So I'm glad you liked it, Javier. You could like it more. You could like it enough for both of us. Let's go there with that. Anyway, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thanks so much for being here. Listen, don't forget, I will be back again tomorrow. We'll be back on at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll be back in the new studio because the construction will be done. Oh my gosh, it was so loud. But guys, thanks for your patience with me for today. We started a little bit late. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being fans of the show. And thanks for being fellow film fans right along with me. I appreciate it a great deal. And don't forget what Raymond was talking about, Giving Tuesday. Get out there, donate something to some charities today. It'll make you feel really good, and it'll make the world a whole lot of a better place for some really needy people. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.